Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Friday night edition of 49ers Live tonight. Professor B here at the Satellite Digital Media Studios here in San Francisco. As we are going to have an edition of 49ers Live tonight. In case you just missed it early in the day, the big news, I did an update on the Brandon Ayuk by the Brandon Ayuk situation. The 49ers look like Ayuk may have played this, maybe his final season with the 49ers, as his contract guarantees for 2026. They are going to probably move on with Ayuk. This is according to the Standard. Michael Silver and Diana Taurasi. So he Silver and I think someone else wrote about this. They're all reporting. So we will get more on this story. This is, I think, Michael Silver from The Athletic wrote that story about the Niners moving on with Brandon Ayuk. And so, and then this is what also Matt Mayoko said on his podcast earlier in the day. And we'll get to that in a few. So we're gonna hear from. This is what but we're gonna hear from Matt Mayoko, 49ers Insider. You see him on NBC Sports Bay Area every doing 49ers podcasts and stuff. This is what he said on his own podcast earlier today. So we're gonna talk more about it. Or whoa, we forgot. I hit the wrong button. So we're gonna sorry about that. We're gonna get this ready. There we go.
Huge news as it pertains to the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk, as reported by Michael Silver and Diana Rossini from The Athletic. And the news is this, that the 49ers have voided the future guaranteed money for Brandon Ayuk. And so what that means is, we kind of thought that, there was some weirdness going on, and what was the future of Brandon Ayuk, but that albatross that was kind of hanging over was the future guaranteed money. Now the 49ers do not owe that money. And as reported by Silver and Rossini, Brandon Ayuk has decided not to fight it through the NFLPA. My sources told me that this was actually a move done by the 49ers during training camp. That's when they voided the contract for Brandon Ayuk. And the reason for the being able to void the contract would be that he didn't live up to the terms of the contract that he signed in August of 2024. Big contract extension, averaging $30 million a year. And of course, seventh game of the season, he sustains the ACL injury, the ACL, the MCL, meniscus, cartilage as well. And he started training camp on the PUP list. And, according to sources, wasn't fulfilling the obligations that a injured player must fulfill. And the 49ers some time ago voided this contract. And I guess the question that some of you might be asking is, why is this only coming to light now if the contract was voided in training camp? And from what I can gather, when something like that is filed, I've talked to agents around the league, and what I'm told is that if something like that is filed, it's basically between the team and the player and the player's agent. And so, there's no paper trail where other people around the league can see what's happened. But sources have confirmed to me the Silver and Rossini report. And so what does that mean? When you think about why the 49ers, or how the 49ers could part ways with Brandon Ayuk after this season, this is it. No more guaranteed money would be earmarked toward him. He would not have any more guaranteed money, which would make it very simple for the 49ers to release him with no strings attached and not owe him any more money. So Brandon Ayuk remains on the PUP list. It's been basically a weekly ritual asking Kyle Shanahan, is this the week that Brandon Ayuk is elevated, or they have the practice window open for him? And the answer every week, for the past 4 weeks, has been no, not this week. And so there really is no opening in sight. And, I think it's something where I think as time went on, you could tell that there was something going on behind the scenes. And I know Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch, actually, a lot of times on his KBR radio show, when asked about Brandon Ayuk, he said, he was doing all the right things. Well, quite clearly, he wasn't doing all the right things as far as the rehabilitation. Obviously, the 49ers didn't want that news out there to get, at this point, as far as the voiding of the contract, because that's kind of a nuclear option when it comes for teams and players. And especially when you have Ayuk, who signed this big money deal, and now quite clearly he is not in line to get only a fraction of what it was that the 49ers originally signed on for. I don't have those exact numbers in front of me, but I do know that the guarantee for next season was up around $27 million. And so that's money that is no longer guaranteed, and the 49ers will no longer be obligated to pay Ayuk, assuming, of course, that there's no kind of appeal, which the Athletic reports he's not inclined to appeal this or take it as far as any kind of arbitration or anything of that nature. So Brandon Ayuk, again, remains on the physically unable to perform list. We saw him in training camp out there with the wide receivers doing stuff that he wasn't even allowed to do, as far as getting on the field and running. I know that there's video of him as he was running routes before the game in Las Vegas. Again, something that he wasn't allowed to do. A source told me that was basically the only time they saw him working out. Now, I do know that he has been coming to the facility. I don't know if it's every day, but he hasn't been. I know that there were a lot of fines for not fulfilling the requirements of a player under contract. So that's where it is. The union between Ayuk and the 49ers will be coming to an end. It certainly appears. It doesn't appear as if the 49ers are want to bend over backward to try to keep this thing going for the 2026 season. So, Is it a surprise? I think we all sensed. I think you could probably sense that. Yeah, like I said, there was just something amiss, and there was never any real guarantee that Brandon Ayuk would be on the team next year. The only question was, how was that going to look? Would they be able to trade him? Probably not. Uh, how were they going to proceed forward? And now we know. And so when you look at the 49ers wide receiver position, it's very much up in the air for the future. When you think about Ricky Pearsall, he is signed for 2 more years after this year. Jordan Watkins is a rookie, so he signed for 3 more years. Jacob Cowing, who we haven't seen this year, he's on injured reserve. Haven't seen him. He is signed for 2 more years after this year. And then there's Kendrick Bourne, who's a free agent at the end of the season. Juwan Jennings, a free agent at the end of the season. Demarcus Robinson, who signed a 2-year contract. What will his future be as well? But it does appear now with the reporting of Silver and Rossini that a definite split is in the works between Ayuk and the 49ers. And so it doesn't necessarily rule out a return for Ayuk this year, although now that seems highly unlikely. I was told that the 49ers would be open for him if he wants to play and he feels like he's recovered enough to get out there. They would be open for him to get out there and play, especially if he's at anywhere near the form of the Brandon Ayuk we saw during the 2023 season. But is that realistic? I don't know. It doesn't sound that way. I guess the question would be, from the 49ers standpoint, is he at this point, with his contract voided, is he going to press it to get out there and try to help the team? That's one consideration. But the other part for Brandon Ayuk would be that, would he want to get out there for the final several weeks of the season to show the rest of the NFL that he can still play and that he's worth an investment of some team going out and signing him as a free agent, assuming, of course, which is the realistic assumption at this point, that he will be a free agent, that after the season is over, the 49ers will release him. They will cut ties. They won't owe him another penny. And so you would think of it, you can look at it from both of the ways. Whereas if he has done the stuff where the 49ers felt obligated or felt compelled to not, or to void his contract because he hasn't been fulfilling his contract, would they feel comfortable in him going out there and playing for the organization? But from Ayuk's part, he would have to be upset with the team that they're basically signaling that they're cutting ties with him. But there becomes a point where it would actually help him if he were to help the team. If he could at all get out there for a few games, potentially even playoff games, and play good football, then that's going to make him more attractive on the open market as a free agent. But that'll be something that I know, every week from this point forward, the question will be to Kyle Shanahan: is this the week that Brandon Ayuk has his practice window open? Could he become available? But so I would say, while the short-term situation with Ayuk is a little bit murky, I think the long-term situation is very crystal clear. The short term is, there is still a chance, possibly, that he could play this season. You might think that's unlikely, and it probably is. But then I think for the long term, there's virtually no chance that Brandon Ayuk is with the 49ers in 2026 and beyond. So that's the update. Compliments on the good reporting and the story from Rossini and Silver from The Athletic. And that's my quick 2 cents on where this thing is headed. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more about this in the coming days as Kyle Shanahan will speak to the media on Saturday. And we'll certainly be interested to hear what he has to say on this topic. But by all accounts, the guaranteed money no longer in Brandon Ayuk's contract, which basically paves the way for this union to not continue only less than a year and a half after he signed that huge, lucrative, big money contract to remain with the team. So that is the Ayuk and 49ers update, and that is it for
All right, as you heard from Matt Mayoko of NBC Sports Bay Area about that situation that came a few hours ago, and this was revelation revealed that Brandon Ayuk not foregoing his obligations of the contract, was fined multiple times, and you know. And had not been able to get on the field, he been over a year and a half, of course, since he signed that long-term contract, and then unfortunately he tears his ACL last year, and his MCL, PCL, and he's been on the physical and able to perform list, and really since training camp back in late July. So uncertainty for Brandon Ayuk. I think the Niners are going to cut their ties. They're going to void the contract of his signing bonus, and he most likely will be moving on after the season. So we're going to continue on 49ers Live tonight. Professor B, coming up, we're going to have Robert Saleh and Klint Kubiak. Then we'll have for Brock Purdy. And then after that, we'll talk to you and we'll wrap it up for tonight. Professor B, here at the Satellite Digital Media Studios. It's now time for the coordinator show, a coordinator segment on Niners Radio 49. It will be Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator, and Klint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for the 49ers. And that will begin right now.
Big nickel in Arizona. Just curious, how do you kind of decide when you want to go big nickel versus base versus regular nickel?
Every game's different. Depends on what they're doing out of certain personnel groups, what we feel the game will be like. So it's week to week from a game plan standpoint, and that can shift once we're in the game.
What do you like about having Pinnock in
there? He's versatile. JP, he can play multiple spots. He's good in man coverage. He's a really good blitzer. He's good in zone coverages. He's a physical player, so he's been he's really good in that regard.
How do you feel Nick Martin did in his first action line?
I thought he did good. I think it was like 14 snaps. Had a lot of production. Had one play that I'm sure he wishes he had back also. But for a first time out, I thought it was pretty good.
He's only week practicing at strong side linebacker.
No, he's been doing it. Playing Sam just. Well, once you get out of training camp, you're playing everything. So he does everything except for the mic.
How hard is it to switch mics mid-game, and how do you feel Curtis Robinson did?
I thought he did a really nice job. Curtis got reps throughout the week, but it is, it's like a quarterback in the league. Your second string quarterback's not getting a lot of reps. It goes to the Mike linebacker or to the starter, and then you got to go into the game, and it just. As much as you prepare yourself mentally, the speed of it kind of goes faster. You're making the calls, you're making the checks, and then you got to worry about the ball getting snapped. So I thought for the circumstances, especially with how he went down and he was dealing with some aches and pains, I thought he did a really nice job.
Was the film
session like on Monday. Three takeaways, obviously, Disney dwarf everything else, but there's the completions and the yardage, which nobody really likes to see, but it's not nearly as important as the turnover.
Yeah. I thought for 2.5 quarters, I mean, shoot, it was what, 35-10 with about 12 minutes to go in the game, and I know their last 3 drives accounted for a little over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we called a game that was necessary to win the football game. We're, not to make excuses for our guys, but we're down to 3 DNs, we're down linebackers, we're down people. So it was keep the ball in front, get the clock to 0 as fast as we could.
Robert, 2 weeks ago, you guys blitzed Stafford and the Rams like 55%. It was like the most in a decade. And then this last week, you only blitzed like 12%. Was that because you didn't like the way you guys played the week before, or why the two distinctive plans?
It's all partners in the game, and last week we gave 4 explosives. So it's and then you get later in the game, and like I said, for a quarter and a half, we were sitting back and just trying to get the clock to 0 as quickly as we could, with the score being what it was. But every game will be independent. We've had games where we blitzed and had a lot of success. We've had games where we blitzed and had no success, and vice versa. So it's like I said, we have a plan, and then it's our job to figure out how to pivot once we're inside the game.
I think what you've seen from Bryce Young so far, obviously he's coming off the best game he's ever had, but just overall, just to look at him, you don't look at him as being maybe a prototype number 1 at 5'10" and the size and everything. But it seemed like everybody was pretty convinced he was worth a number 1, and he's looking like it now. What do you see?
Yeah, I see a young man who's developed and has grown year over year. I think Canales and his staff have done an outstanding job developing him. I think the organization has done a great job building the roster the right way. And you look at a guy like Bryce, they do a great job putting him in position to be successful. But for him, he's also a really, really good processor. What's underrated about him, I do think he's as tough as nails. I mean, he takes some shots in that standing there sometimes, but he'll stand in there, he delivers strikes, and he's definitely an ascending quarterback.
What are your realistic expectations for your pass rush, given the players you've lost along the way?
The expectation is no different whether you have, no matter who's out there. It's to step on the gas and give us everything you've got. And I know Jacoby was getting rid of the ball pretty good last week, and again, it was easy. They were taking a lot of things underneath, which we were giving them, but yeah, our expectation doesn't change. We expect to win our one-on-ones. We expect to take advantage of our opportunities. We expect to be relentless, violent, and play with elite strain and effort, and that's the expectation. And if you can do that, we feel like we'll have a good result.
Robert, this team has good tight ends as well. 3 of them, and they use them differently. What do you see from their usage of tight ends? What do you think of those 3 players?
Good players. And they do a really nice job of mixing up their personnels. Obviously they're mostly 11 personnel, but they will get multiple. They'll throw 13 personnel out there. They'll work some 12 personnel. But it's a good trio of tight ends, and I know the rookie is getting a lot of attention, but they've got some weapons. The back is really good, so it's overall it's a really young group and a group that's ascending. But we've got to be prepared for anything that they throw at us with regard to those 3 tight ends and the different personnel groupings that they can give us.
McCaffrey was a surprise action. How the team reacted to that news? Did you know that that was a possibility? And I mean, no Christian McCaffrey would seem to be a good news for the New York Jets defense.
looking back at it, I kind of wish he played because Kyle would have thrown the ball more. But instead, he pounded it for 41 times, I think it was. You know, we kind of had an idea. We're prepared either way. Our staff, Jeff Albrecht and the staff, we did a really nice job pivoting. And credit to JP Mason. I mean, if people didn't know who he was, I would like to think that game kind of woke people up. He's a hell of a back, and he played a heck of a game. But you know, whenever a star player like Christian is ruled out, yeah, it changes only because of what he's capable of, both in the run game and pass game. Different if it's just the back who's first and second down. He might be a hell of a back, but it really doesn't change how the coordinator is going to call the game. Where Christian clearly changed the way Kyle was going to call the game. But you know, so there's sometimes you almost wish that they do play, so you have your game plan and you can go attack it and you know exactly what you're going to get. But whenever you lose a star, like San Francisco did, then the variables become more.
When you were in Seattle, did you, maybe you guys were too young to even think this, but did you look at Canales and say, I could be a head coach, or were you just trying to make your way at that point?
Canales is an outstanding, first off, an outstanding human. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to interact with him, but he's an outstanding. Him and his family are fantastic. And, you know, we were both QCs. Obviously, he was on the offensive side of the ball, just trying to find our way. And, you know, he's always been a team-first servant, never looking for his next job, never looking for opportunities. And I think he's one of those guys that when the opportunity showed up, he took it. He's made the most out of every opportunity he's ever gotten, and he's a heck of a football coach, and you can see it in the way this team is developed. I mean, give him and Dad Morgan a lot of credit. You know, this organization was in the dumps not so long ago, and they are slowly climbing out, and they're building it the right way. And you know, so it's pretty cool to see.
The last one, the stout horse fumble at the one. We had Alfred and Collins do that at the one. Bosa had the strip sack inside the 10 in the season opener. What does that tell you about your guys' ability to defend down there on the goal line and go for the ball?
You know, there's an old saying: it's a blade of grass. Just give us a blade of grass, and we'll do our best to defend it. And you know, I think our guys. They represent what this organization preaches. It's elite strain all the way through the whistle. And, you know, Alfred's play was unbelievable. Bosa's was unbelievable. Even Upton's at the very last second, his technique through the down wasn't perfect, but he fought all the way through. And it's what we talk about when we talk about the makeup of the people in that locker room, and the way Kyle and John go through the process to select these young men and who gets to wear a San Francisco 49ers helmet. They're made of the right stuff, and those are the individuals who will strain all the way through, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the down and distance is, no matter what the score is or where it's at in the game. We've got a locker room full of individuals that are going to do everything they can to win every down. All right, thanks, guys.
But why, you guys have run it better, it seems like the last 6 weeks, maybe since the Tampa game. Is it just the return of Kittle? Is it the health of Pooney? Is it the fact you guys are running a little bit more gap, a little less zone?
I think, yeah, it's a lot of things. It's not one thing. It's continuity, you know, with the guys who've been back. We've had Kittle back. We've had some more consistency at guard past couple of weeks. We've gotten better, you know. I mean, I think through, as the year has gone on, you know, through practice, we've gotten better as running the ball, more consistent. The way some of the games have gone, we've been able to commit to it a little bit more, like the Giants game, this last game. So it's a lot of things, you know. It doesn't mean by any means it's perfect, but we got to keep going and look at it week by week and continue to try to improve in the run game, because if we can run the ball, stay on the field, and we're going to have some success as an offense. So
It's been really good in the red zone in the last 5 games in terms of converting that into touchdowns. Can you just take us a little bit into when Kyle's calling plays, or how you guys are dialing up these plays in the red zone, whether there's a little bit more enthusiasm this year than there was maybe last year when things weren't going as well?
I wouldn't say that. I think it's, you know, guys have executed, you know, pretty well down there these past couple weeks. You know, we've We've made some plays. I think Brock made a really good throw last week in the red zone. We've been running the ball a little bit better down there. It's never one thing. It's not like our plays are better, that we've come up with better plays. I think it's just, we've caught some of the coverages that we scouted a little bit. There's times when you get down there and you catch a coverage like, man, we didn't expect that, and the play you have just wasn't the right play, and you hope someone makes a play, but it doesn't work out. We've gotten fortunate in that regard. Thinking about last game especially. So it's just, guys being on it, quarterback executing, running the ball a little bit better. All those things add up to me to red zone success. So I think that's what it is.
The shared arrangement at guard between Burford and March, and how is that working out? I mean, normally offensive linemen go.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while it happens.
Yeah, I think it's been working. We kind of take it week by week, kind of see where they're at in practice. I think the way the games have gone, those guys have benefited from being in there, getting in a rhythm, and then getting to come out for a little bit and just kind of see the game a little bit differently, take a break, let the other guy go in and play. That can help guys sometimes. That can help guys kind of, whatever it is mentally or whatever, it can help a guy play better, more consistently if he knows, hey, I got a guy coming in and I can kind of take a breather. But it also depends on the game. I think back to some games where we didn't get in a rhythm and we just kept guys out there. And so if we're playing good and we're running the ball, I think hopefully we have that consistency with, rotating those guys, but we'll just kind of see how each week goes.
Did you know before the game, like, all right, you're going to go the first 4 series, then you're going the next 4, or is it just like you start to one guy and then tell the other guy to stay ready? You're going to go.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's we don't predetermine how many drives or whatever, but we give them an idea like, hey, we're going to, just be ready in a couple series. Just, you never know when it's going to change, but he's ready for it.
How does it keep everyone involved on offense when you have a few players who deserve so many touches?
I mean, it's a good problem to have. It's tough. Yeah, I mean, you want to get everyone involved, but it's a good problem to have. You design plays where you think everyone's got a chance to touch the ball and let the coverage dictate kind of where it goes. But that's we're fortunate to have that problem. I wouldn't say I'm complaining about it, but and you want to keep guys motivated. You want to keep guys in it because they think the ball's coming their way. But our guys do a great job of playing unselfish too. They don't really care where the ball goes. They run their routes. They play each play, and they know that the ball's going to be distributed based on the coverages we get. And so, yeah.
When you get to week 12, do you want to meet more with your QCs and your kind of your helpers to make sure that you know what your tendencies are when you're putting together your game plan?
Absolutely. We kind of do that every week. We kind of look at, our scouting department does a good job of giving us a report of kind of what we're presenting to the defense and what kind of shows up as tendencies. We kind of do it on our own too. We pay attention to it. We try to offset things every week. We've done this on tape last week. Let's try to offset it and try to show something different. So you always kind of got to have your eye on that. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I forgot to unmute the mute button. You just heard from both Klint Kubiak, Niners offensive coordinator, and Robert Saleh, 49ers defensive coordinator. We're going to take this quick timeout, and we will, and then we'll have a, actually, no, we're not going to take a timeout. We're going to continue on Niners Radio 49. We will now hear from Brock Purdy. His thoughts. Brock Purdy speaking to the media early today, and so we'll hope to hear from that right now. Okay, here's Brock Purdy. We're going to just do an audio version. We're just having some technical difficulties.
I think it's a crucial time of the year. It's the end of the getting towards the end of the season. So obviously everybody knows November and December football is huge, especially going into playoffs and everything. So for us, this is a huge one. Yeah, I thought it was good just to get my feet wet again and sort of go through reads, compete, find a way to win, all that kind of stuff, man. It's hard to emulate that at practice, and so until you're in a game situation when you go out there and they score and we got to respond, like those kind of situational football moments, it just felt good being in that. And but I think outside of that, for me, I went back, watched the film, and thought I could still play better and make some better decisions with the ball, and at the same time, just be aggressive and have that aggressive mentality. So it's a balance of that, and so that's just where I'm at after last game. But I think as an offense, we have a lot of momentum right now from that last game, but we got to find that again come Sunday or Monday night. So that's sort of where my mind's at, and after watching the game. Yeah, I think just like you said, like Ricky feeling good, and for myself being able to come back, and just as a whole, I feel like we've all been able to put some practices together. I feel like throughout the year, it's been someone's out, and there's been not a whole lot of consistency, but obviously guys have stepped up and done a great job. But it just feels good that we're all able to practice together, watch film together, and grow in that regard. It's huge for the little details and stuff, especially in this offense in the NFL. And so that excites me. It excites all the other guys. But and sort of back to the last question, like it's the end of the season. We need consistency right now going into the end of the year and trying to get into the playoffs and all that. So it's huge for all of us. But we all feel really good about it. like this until I get to that line and feel better. So I don't know. It was just one of those things where I was trying to do my research with guys here that have dealt with it and sort of go from there. So I feel like, I don't know, I got some really good answers, but at the same time, everybody's injury is a little different. So. No, honestly, I really did believe that, after the game and traveling home and everything, it felt really good just walking around and being myself. Like, I was like, I know I'm good. And so, big difference from, the previous 2 times where I heard it. And so, one day I woke up, went about my business, and feel great. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty sweet. He's a fullback. Love him. But it's just cool that like the crowd immediately feeds off of our fullback when he gets the ball, and he's just got this different kind of aura, man. That I don't think everybody has their own different kind of aura, but Juice's aura, like with our stadium, our fan base, like everybody knows him. Even we're on the road, the dude can catch a 2-yard check down, and the whole place goes nuts. So he's the man. He does everything that we ask for, and he deserves the crowd to go crazy like that. So. I mean, yeah, he was extremely smart, went to Harvard and all that, but more than anything, like just, his experience with football. He's been in the league forever and he's some good quarterbacks. And as the fullback, his position is obviously similar to tight end and a running back. So, like, he has to sort of know our whole system, the motions, the routes, the checkdowns, you name it. So, like, he's in it just like the quarterback is. And so, for him, man, I don't know, he's up there when it comes to understanding our offense and our system and having a good football IQ. So honestly, like we have questions and stuff, we'd always go to Juice, and he usually knows just about everything, but you just can't throw as good as a quarterback. So thanks, guys.
All right, that was you heard from Brock Purdy, 49ers quarterback. And that's going to do it for tonight on 49ers Live. As we thank you for watching, and tomorrow we'll be right back. We'll be doing another edition of 49ers Live tomorrow. The time, I don't know yet what time we're going to be doing. We'll do on the air, but it's going to be Kyle Shanahan tomorrow. Will have his final. He'll have his final injury report tomorrow, and then tomorrow on Niners Radio 49, it will. We will. So that will be. There'll be another practice tomorrow. We will have something on in the evening because I'll have to. I'm maybe going out and doing cover a high school football game tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. And just a reminder, coming up on Saturday, we got a lot coming up. We will have the CIF high school girls football playoff game tomorrow, and that's going to be tomorrow. We will and the championships will be tomorrow. So the flag football for the girls, that would be tomorrow. I'm just trying to find out, get the first game will be Burton versus Lowell at Balboa at 10 a.m. The second game is at 11:30, and then the championship will be the two semifinalists will be at Kubiak Stadium at 9 a.m. That'll be the first game, and then the high school section championship for varsity football for the boys will be next Thursday at Kezar Stadium, and the kickoff time will be at 11 a.m. George Washington Eagles taking on the defending city and state champion Balboa Buccaneers in the annual Thanksgiving Turkey Bowl at Kezar Stadium, the original home for the 49ers. That'll be at 11 a.m. kickoff time next Thursday. So, a reminder: tomorrow we'll have another edition of 49ers Live. 49ers Live. We will go on, I think, sometime in the afternoon, and we'll get you ready for Kyle Shanahan. Will have his final. He will have his final injury report, and then we'll go out of bounds for our Niners 49ers segment. That is it for now. Professor B signing off. Thank you for watching 49ers Live tonight on Niners Radio 49. And wish all of you a very pleasant good evening. 49ers football, faithful to the Bay.